Davo, first season Super Rugby. Already people are talking about you guys as being the favourites of the most depth in South African team with that pack with all the Springboks. Bit of expectation there, just how are you handling it?
Yeah, I think there is based on, as you say, based on the Springboks. I think it's sort of tempered by our underperformance of the last few years, and our well-known uh, other issues. And I think the reality is a franchise like the Storm is of our size, with our club system, which is incredible, our school system. I think we've got we have three universities in the Varsity Cup. To have only made one Super Rugby final in 21 years is probably, or 22 years, probably underachievement. So, and I think we're quite good at promising and not really delivering. I think this year probably there've been a couple of things which may line up to create this expectation. One of which is the return of the Springboks, as you say. The second is the last year of Newlands, which I think is worth a lot to the players. If you speak to see, and that's the thing. And thirdly, we have quite a good draw in terms of hopefully some home games and get some points in the bank before we go away. So those are probably factors that weren't in place a while ago. So there is expectation, and how we're handling it is we're probably going to try, by virtue of how we've approached the friendlies, dividing the squad up and stuff like that, how they went. That's probably would have tempered a little bit of expectation.
You obviously brought in Jamie Roberts. There's been quite a bit of hype around that as well. Just your thoughts on what the role you want him to play?
Yeah, we use the 45-man squad system in South Africa now is a big challenge. It's impossible to cater all positions properly with 45 people. And I think every squad will have a flashpoint area or position. I know from chatting to Sean that the Sharks are concerned about depth at hooker, for example. And I know that other unions also got concerns. Ours was palpably centre with the loss of Damien Delenda. It's odd that one guy could create a flashpoint, but JJ Engelbrecht had gone, SP Mareg, and the sort of utility backs, and with the replacements, or the next generation, Marcus Pretorius is 20 years old, Matt Moore is 20 years old. Those are the two sort of youngsters coming through. Ruan is committed to going to the Sevens for Tokyo and missing some of the playoffs and a few league games. He goes to do a couple of things. So, and Dan du Plessis hasn't got a great record of being on the field for a whole season. So, so and that didn't come off well, our areas of concern, and then also it became clear that we just lacked experience. Now we're going to put a 20-year-old outside Damien Willems. It's going to be quite quiet. There's no ways Rikus Pretorius could boss Damien Willems around a Super Rugby field. And also Herschel Gianties, he's also relatively inexperienced, and I don't think either of them would write by their own, or haven't written that game management is their strength. So we wanted to help those guys, and then critically also bring through these youngsters. I guess turn off for the wall here.
I think it's almost finished.
To bring the, sorry, let me start again. So I don't think. Oh, I know they've Damien Willems and Herschel Gianties game management wouldn't be their top of their list of their strength. So we just sort of reported to get an experienced centre. We had looked at trying to get Hugh Jones in, and we got quite far down the line with that. And then because he's part of the region, the guys love him. He's a very popular figure. He's got X factor. And then we heard that Jamie Roberts was coming down. Was possibly looking at the Southern Hemisphere experience, as you guys have written about going to the Crusaders. So I wanted to get so to have an experienced centre was magic. He was doing it for reasons that could maybe make it a bit more affordable for us, in that he was looking for the experience more than trying to grow his career or fill his bank account. So his remit is obviously going to play games. I've told him directly he's not going to play every game, but his remit is when he gets on the plane in June, other than having played well, is that Damien Willems, Herschel, and them know how to manage a game, and that Rikus Pretorius and those guys are Super Rugby level centres.
You talk about Damien Willems. I take the experiment at 15 is dead. He's now at 10. He's going to get extended run there.
Yeah, I mean, that's our plan. I think, I'll be honest, I think he was, he played 15 because he wanted to get to the World Cup, and that was the plan. And I think he said, the more he played 15, actually the more he enjoyed it. I thought that was going to be quite an easy sell for him, but you're right, he's going to be our 10 and he'll get a long run at 10 for us. I don't know if he sees what's the national cause, but obviously I think the national cause is not quite as urgent as maybe in a World Cup year, and we see him as a 10.
You talked about the emotion of last year at Newlands as such. Emotion can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing as well for a rugby team, as you know. And that coupled with the other thing with the emotion in terms of the Springboks coming back, the expectation, guys coming off that high of the World Cup. How difficult has it been to manage that, and how do you manage that? I know they're all professionals, but surely there must have been a challenge in a way or two. So.
Yeah, the Newlands thing, obviously, I think that's still to come up. If you know, I mean, the challenge of dealing with Newlands. I think you're right. It's going to be an issue. The emotion, which can be negative and can be overdone. So that will still come up, obviously, starting next week. But the Springboks coming back, we gave them. Once we saw all the emotion that happened, we gave them another 3 weeks off because we realised those guys weren't going to be mentally in the frame to start training for something as mundane as Super Rugby, you know. So, and we got them to our camp, and they've been to a man. They've been brilliant. They've bought in, cheerful, excited. It's just a very fine balancing act because I think, Brendan, you've been around long enough to know. One of the reasons why I think the Stormers haven't done well is that we've always had a sort of some Galacticos, you know, a super squad of. You go back 15 years, or 10 years, you were Brian and Banner, Jean de Villiers, Skalk, world-class rugby player and people, and then maybe more mundane players outside of that. You can't have and that squad was quite stratified like that, you know. And we've sort of working hard on sort of the de-stratification of the team to make us one team that aren't some superstars, which we've got, and some ordinary players. And at the same time, I have to be careful with them because they're keen on that. They want themselves to be ordinary team to contribute. But these guys have just won a World Cup and they know a lot about winning. So we need to draw knowledge from them without sort of putting them on a pedestal. So it's been a balancing act. But what's been helpful is that I think they've bought into what we're trying to do and their energy, and that I can't fault their approach.
I can imagine it's difficult because plus you've also got, in a way, the favourites there amongst the South African teams.
Yeah.
That brings me to what I've asked all the coaches as well, is that probably the biggest threat to that, and given the way the conference system works, is not necessarily another South African side, but actually the Jaguares.
Yeah. Because
only one team's won there in the last 2 years in Buenos Aires, which was the Lions last year, and the fact that if they get on a roll, they beat the Bulls and the Sharks last year. I know they've lost players, but they are a big threat to all the South African sides as such.
Yeah, you know, I've spent quite a bit of time in Argentina, and they're a bit French in that you don't know what's coming out, and I don't know what their mindset's going to be after the World Cup. Are they going to be sort of more determined or something after disappointment of the World Cup, or are they in a rebuild, which might give us an opportunity? My feeling, last year we beat them in Newlands by 30-odd points, and then they went on this roll. I think you're right, once on the roll. I'm pleased they come into Newlands early. I think last year, we were very unlucky to lose there when our morale was quite down. So our sort of record interaction with them is reasonably good. I'm pleased they're coming to us here because we're for conference, and let's say hypothetically the Stormers are competitors. You've got to win your direct competitor. You have to win at home against. So I'm pleased they're coming to us early, and hopefully we can get them early. And if we get them away, it's a bonus. But I agree with you. If they're on a roll, they're close to unbeatable in this conference.
There were some comments, and I know this is a bit of a curveball question, but there were some comments at your year-end function last year about pressure being on you to win by your president, and and obviously being a first season, you'd expect as a coach a little bit of leeway, but. Being a first season, but is that pressure, and how do you handle that sort of pressure?
Yeah, look, I think there is pressure. I think for the reason we have underperformed of late. Last year's Currie Cup, which I was also very disappointing, and there's no doubt there's pressure. And the realities are we're 100% owned by our clubs. We haven't got a sort of private thing, and this is a critical year for our business, just financially. And the crowds in Super Rugby generally, Newlands no exception, have dwindled so much. The business model is under massive pressure. So we have to perform on the field. It's that simple. And I think we're approaching, and I don't think we're the only union by any stretch, but we're approaching a watershed moment. A time where how sustainable the model is. We've just seen that's why we've seen the culling of player squads, the capping of salaries. But running on, somebody said, where did I read it? I think it was Scott Brits was quoted recently as saying when he last played at the Stormers, the average crowd was 40,000. And I think we've run out in the last year to crowds of certainly the low teens, if not lower. and financially it's making that, and the only way we can get it back is by creating some hype, winning them on the field. So I think the pressure is substantial, and I am feeling it, to be honest.
And which brings me to the next question, which I've asked all the other coaches as well, is do you, with all the losses we've had, and you in a better position than some of the other coaches, obviously with your Springboks, but do you feel a South African team can still win Super Rugby?
Well, obviously I think we can. So when I say we, I think we can. So, and I think the other South African team can. There's one big caveat: we have to play the home semi-final. Brendan, you and I have been long enough to know. I can't remember how many away quarterfinals or away semi-finals, and you know the result before. You don't have to watch the game. You know what I mean? We haven't been there, but another team away to the Crusaders in a quarterfinal. You know the results. So we have to top the conference, and we have to beat the top. The New Zealand teams often eat each other up. In terms of because their league it's so competitive that they don't get away with the points as much easily, but we have to be above either Australia or New Zealand team to have the home semi, and that's the only way we can do it. Obviously, ideally the home final. Obviously there's a way we want to say goodbye to Newlands. That's obviously, the fairy tale of us hosting. And I think hosting a semi-final, that's the way to say goodbye to Newlands. I think we can. I think there are a lot of people, I don't know the number, was it close to 150 Super Rugby players have gone north over the last year? You talk about the Crusaders, I haven't done the maths, losing 1,000 caps. So, I think we've lost, Storm was I'm talking about now, obviously Eben and Damien, we must have lost over 100 or close to 100 caps. But, we've retained, I think, pro rata, it's a reasonably good retention. So I think it's possible. It's just it all comes about hosting that playoff. If you're going to go away in a quarterfinal, it's not going to happen.
You've got a tough start. I mean, Hurricanes first up, and then Bulls after that. I mean, they're two tough games to start with. There's always tough games in this competition, but you need to win. I take it, if you want to reach your goal, you need to win those first two at least.
Yeah. I think we've 7 of our first 10 at home, and they know they're absolutely non-negotiable. The Hurricanes, we're going to be under pressure because we've got a couple of injuries around lock, some of our bigger guys. So that's, we won't be at quite at full strength for that. And then the Bulls are going to be the Bulls are going to be snorting, and it's a great rivalry, isn't it? So, and then we go to Ellis Park. So, if we go, there's a very clear high road for us, a low road. We go, let's say we pick up 7 in our first 10 games. Let's say we win and lose every away game. We go to a 7 out of 10, and one of our games is Sunwolves away. We're styling, If we lose a couple of those home ones, you're right, then we're going to be, suddenly you're going to go win against the Crusaders away. We'll be there under real pressure. So our competition gets very serious for us very early.
And I see you haven't been playing Peter Steph in some of the pre-season games as such. Just the reason why, are you just bringing him back slowly?
He's got his shoulder. He's not doing contact in training because of his shoulder. He is fit. He's 100% fit for Hurricanes. The doctor says, he said at the stage, it's if you give him another 2 weeks off, it's a 1 week injury. But if you give him if something goes wrong, it's a 6 week injury. And without Peter Steph, we're severely compromised, especially about JD Schickerling's probably not going to make the Hurricanes game. Kobus Visa's certainly not going to make the Hurricanes game. Chris Van Sel's in doubt. So Peter Steph's obviously a lock cover as well. So we are sort of cotton-wooling him a bit. And also he's one of those, as you know, he's one of those freakish athletes that doesn't need to play 3 friendlies. Sia asks to play. He needs game time. To get kids, he wants game time. Peter Steph's the sort of the opposite end of the spectrum. He'll run all day even if he hasn't played a game.
Yeah. And that's more or less it. Just the last thing, if you want to say something to your fans who are going to watch this.
Yeah, part of our campaign, our internal campaign is to get Cape Town smiling. I think the days of us sitting back and waiting for people to come to Newlands are over. We've got to entice people by the way we play, hopefully the way we result the win. So I think it's been misconstrued a bit in the last few weeks in the media that we want to win ugly. It's not that. It's we want to use our forward power to be able to use our backs. We'll still play attractive rugby. So how we play, get some wins, and how we reach out to the community. And so we're doing a lot of projects to get the men's into Newlands, and we want to get Cape Town smiling. It hasn't happened for a while, and that's our plan. Just to follow up
on that, I mean, it's something you mentioned. You said talk about winning ugly, and people maybe misconstruing it. The goal is obviously to win first of all, and if you want to be in a home semi, whether you win by 1 point or 20 points, a home semi, you need to win games as well. And given your firepower, am I understanding right? That's what you mean? Is that if you need to grind it out, you grind it out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm bad at like that as a coach. You know, I like attractive rugby, but make no mistake, you know, if we've got a scrum and we need a penalty, you know, we'll do it. You know, so we have got that button we can push. I think just based on our personnel. And it's not only the spring, you know, Wilkolo and Ali Famark are not bad props either. Scarata is not a bad hooker, so we'll be able to play around a little bit with that. Our loose game plan is that we've got the power to create some space, some momentum for space for our steppers, because we've got some exciting backs. But you absolutely did right. You know, if it's a tough evening and we need to go scrum after scrum and maul after maul, we'll definitely do it.
Good luck for the season.
Thanks very much, Brent. Thanks, sir.